Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. I'm so excited today. I'm honored and excited actually. Today we are launching our veteran-centric military family show on the TED Show. It's our series, Heroes Always Welcome. We may tweak that name, but I love that name because you are always welcome. And I'm honored to have Jose Belen as my co-host. He agreed. This is not community service, y'all. He actually thankfully and gratefully agreed to be on the show with me every week. We are going to focus on veterans, veteran-owned businesses, veteran services, what's out there, having our vets share their journey and their story, because we know that there are a lot of veterans out there who are still looking for some sort of relationship. They're out and about and they have not made the transition, or maybe they've got a great idea and they want to learn more about a veteran-owned business. And of course, the services, because that is always so important. 22, or I think the number is higher now, 22 of our veteran family commit suicide every day on average. And so we really, really want to get the message out that we're here and that we care. And for the civilians out there who want to get involved, we're going to give you plenty of opportunity to find an organization that you can support and help out our veterans. So our guest today is Jeff DeMond, and we're going to get to Jeff. He has agreed to be our inaugural, our first guest on our show, so I'm excited about that. Welcome, gentlemen. Jose, tell us a little bit about you. If the people don't know, after the last show, I don't know where they were under a rock, but we want to hear more about you.
No problem. Thank you so much, Ted, and thank you, Jeff, for being here. I'm a U.S. Army Field Artillery Combat Veteran. I served 2 consecutive tours, Operation Iraqi Freedom 1 and 2, and that would be 2003 and 2004. During my time in combat, was part of a number of different, battles and situations. Lost my best friend and captain shortly before Christmas 2003. Tried to save as many lives as we could, children including, and that didn't always work out. And so, one may leave the battlefield whole or wounded, but they say only the dead see the end of war. And I mentioned that before, and it's because for veterans like myself or, Jeff, who served and put time in, the war in your service never leaves your mind. And so that put me on a journey to raise awareness to mental health. We lose over 8,000 veterans a year to suicide or overdoses. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But what we need to start doing is going beyond that number 22. And we, Jeff and I serve also the families that are behind that can never really put those pieces back together. So now I'm an advocate, for anyone walking in darkness today. Especially trying to, find that veteran before it's too late.
And your journey, you've been on the show several times. It's always engrossing and heartbreaking. And I feel like there are so many things that we as civilians don't know and don't understand and probably never can. But what we can do is rally around you, provide support, real support, services, outreach, jobs, entrepreneurship. There's so much that we can do outside when you are out of the military. We have to be better as a country, I feel like, to do that. And so I'm excited to be able to bring it here. I'm excited for you all to share your journey. And tell them a little bit there's Jeff. Tell them a little bit about Art by Jose Belen, and then we'll go right to Jeff after. You can introduce Jeff after that.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, I do, make art these days, and it started in the most, sincere and honest way. Memorial Day 2020, a day that historically is difficult, for many veterans and families out there. But for me, it was a day that historically was very self-destructive, very emotional, very dark. Would find myself at some point, drinking a 6 to 12 pack. And, at that time, there was already so much going on with COVID. And it's like, let me make something, out of the day to make my buddies proud of me instead of just sitting here and crying and being mad. You really think of if they pay that ultimate sacrifice with honor, they didn't do that for you to be sitting here on the sidelines, counting it out and hating life. It's the opposite. They want you to be the best version of yourself and living your best life. And so I made an American flag out of wood. I called my best friend who had the table saws. I never created anything like that before. Excuse me.
That's usually me getting choked up.
And what was unique in that is that in combat, when my best friend and captain were killed, the color red for me was always associated with their blood. And this is very graphic, but also very important, for us as veterans to be out here as educators to the civilian community to understand what honor, looks like and feels like to us while we're actually in operations. And when they were killed, the vehicle they were killed in needed to be destroyed, and the seats needed to be removed that they were killed in. And in their seats with some of their remains, and they needed someone to take care of that. And I was the only soldier, go ahead and volunteer. As my best friend, buddy. And so, I took those seats to a burn pit, that they had set up in the back, and placed their seats into that fire and watched their blood, until the seats were destroyed. And that really twisted my mind. The red association from that moment up until Memorial Day 2020 was always just something that drove that PTSD, right? That trigger, issue, the depression, the anger. Think of how many times you see the color red on a day-to-day basis. But when I went to paint that, first red stripe on the flag, yes, I saw their blood, and that's what I try to get folks to understand, that our flag is really painted by the blood of our patriots and our brothers and sisters who, decent people, did operations honorably. And instead of caving to that sadness, and what these hands, carried at that time, I found a furtherance and an inspiration to finish. Did I cry through it? Absolutely. But it's like, I'm finishing it for y'all. And there was something that happened when it was done that day. I'm grateful to my best friend, who's also a civilian, moving out. But he's an honorary veteran, just like, you, Ted, and the champions out there for us, because while he didn't understand, the pain, he knew the significance of being there for me that day. And now we're going to celebrate, on Memorial Day 2022, 2 years later, what now is a gift that God gave me to be able to put those flags that now stand in homes across America, Gold Star families, the families of those that we lose to the post, service of post-war struggle, PTSD. There's children that I've been able to meet, and families, moms, dads, and most importantly was Stuart and Pam Moore in Livingston, Texas, my best friend's parents. I drove 18 hours to Texas, to Livingston, where my best buddy's buried, on his parents' land, and his daddy dug his grave, and I brought him the two flags, and his dad said, Jose, please never stop making flags ever, and I said, how can I? Your son lives through every one, and so do all my brothers and sisters. So art by Jose Belen is art that was created from the pain of what the battlefield gives you, but now it's turned into a release of passion and love and expressionism that I can share with the world now.
It's beautiful. I could listen to that. I've heard it many times, and I can still listen to that story intently and try not to cry every single time you share it. Thank you, Jose. All right, so I want you to introduce our guest of honor today. Please tell us introduce Jeff Damond.
Jeff Damond is a brother that served, has an amazing story, and from day one, veterans, deserve to have their voices heard, and we can all be a voice, for the voiceless. And, beyond that, veterans, we have a responsibility ourselves to introduce ourselves to the civilian sector and really say, hey, look, this is what a veteran is capable of. And so Jeff, from the Gold Star families, the veterans he serves, he's an educator, has an amazing organization, So without further ado, the grateful veteran. Come on.
Welcome, Jeff. How are you today?
I'm well, Ted. Thank you for having me, Jose. I appreciate you as always. I can't wait to squeeze your neck again. I loved seeing you in person, and I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of my story, and hopefully we can help some people along the way. It means a lot to me, so I appreciate
we're
that.
Thankful you're here. I'm honored you're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us, give us. You have the grateful veteran, which we'll get to, but give us a little bit of your journey, if whatever you feel comfortable sharing, so that we can kind of understand the process from point A to point B.
I'm a 20-year Navy veteran. I retired as a senior chief in the Navy. I did 3 deployments with the Army, 2 deployments with the Marine Corps. I've rode whatever ships I could ever raise my hand for. I rode submarines for a period of 3 years. About my 17-year mark, I got hurt and had to have a couple of surgeries, ankle reconstructions. I've had my shoulder replaced, my biceps been torn, my wrists all messed up, 7 concussions, my back's hurt, my neck's hurt. I was a wreck. It's not their fault. I raised my hand and did a lot of things. Felt like that was the right thing for me to do while I was in the service. And once I got hurt, everything kind of changed, because it's the service is what have you done for me lately, not what have you done for me in the past organization. So once I wasn't able to go operational anymore, they kind of took my oomph out of my warrior, because they gave me the keys to the building, basically said, here you go, lock up. Meanwhile, I'm having all these surgeries and they're pumping me full of opioids and PTSD medication and just the various cocktail of drugs that they give just about every veteran as they suffer through this end of their service time, whether it be retirement or if you're hurt or whatever. So I found myself back in my hometown addicted to opioids after 20 years in naval service. And my young cousin, he was 5 when I joined. He was 25 when I got out. He came to my house and I was doing the whole opioid nod out, like, not being able to keep my eyes open or pay attention. And he said, what are you doing? What are you doing to yourself here? You're killing yourself with these pills. Our family has this history of addiction, and I do. My family has had 6 people since I retired in 2006 have died from drug overdose in my family. I've also had 6 people go to rehab and recover from opioids in my family during that same period of time. So he just kind of pointed out the fact of the things that I wasn't doing correctly with my life and my opioids, and pointed me to cannabis. I did a little bit of research, and from the first time I thought about it as medicine and used it as medicine, it changed my life, because it gave me some hope that I would be able to crawl out of this spot that I was in. And we talk about mental health and veteran suicide, but there's another place for veterans that they don't really care one way or another whether they live or die, who they affect with that attitude. Like I would have outbursts in public and I didn't care who it was around. I didn't care. Nothing mattered to me. And that's a failure to thrive. And that's kind of like a suicide as well, because you can easily overdose. I didn't care if I lived or died. So I was going to get up and do the same shit the next day. If I didn't make it, then I didn't make it. But if I did, I was going to get up and do it again. And cannabis provided me that way out. But it was at the same time I had to focus on what I was trying to do. There's people say using drugs, or even let's say mushrooms. If you use illicit drugs like cannabis and psilocybin, and you have positive people around you affecting that experience, and you have intent to heal or intent to use, what are you intending to do with this medication, cannabis? It provides you a way to take hold of that monkey that's on your back and push him away. Because instead of every 2 hours thinking, man, I got to get home and take my opioids, I would use cannabis and push that stuff to the right. And the farther I would get, if I would get closer to that time, then I would take half the medicine and use cannabis and see if that would help. And over a period of 2 months, I was able to half my opioid intake. And when I say half, I was on 80 milligrams of Oxycontin, 120 milligrams of morphine a day, plus 6 milligrams of Klonopin and all the other psychotropics. So I was really not, I was chemically changed mentally in my head, and I wasn't able to deal with not being able to be someone or be myself. And when I started using cannabis in Illinois, they became a medical state, and I still didn't qualify for medical cannabis. So here I am. It was just the way that Illinois had initially set it up. Pain and PTSD was not a qualifier. So here I was, a 20-year Navy veteran hooked on opioids, legally being mailed to me by the VA, and I'm having to go over to the city and buy cannabis because I'm trying to stop the shit that the government's sending to me. And I was seeing an Air Force doctor at an Air Force base near where I'm staying right now. And I went in and I said, I have to stop these opioids. They're killing me. And I'm going to do it using medical cannabis. And he says, oh my God, I don't know how we could do this. I don't know if we can do this at all. And I handed him all the pills that I didn't take over the last 2 months and gave them back to him.
Wow.
So I don't care what we do. I'm already doing it. I just need you to kind of help me by not turning me in and saying, hey, this dude's using weed to come off of medicine. I told him I would do whatever blood work, whatever it took. So that was in 2008. By 2010, I was completely off all my opioids.
Wow.
I lost 100 pounds. I came off of 4 shots for diabetes, high blood pressure medication, all my psychotropics for PTSD. I manage now with psilocybin and cannabis. I take 1 oral medication for diabetes just to keep me in check because I'm a big dude and I didn't take care of myself for a long time.
Understood.
But what really gets me is there's so much help out there for veterans, and the VA understands cannabis use, and you can't lose your benefits or anything like that. However, there are veterans still today that are retiring and are getting out of the military for whatever reason, and nobody tells them about cannabis at all. That if they retire to Florida, they can get in the medical program, and it may help them, it may not help them, whatever. They're not allowed to talk about it. And so I felt like, Jose, you can attest to this, how many people fall through the cracks until they meet someone like us that talks about it openly and freely, that they can even, understand that there's a different way to be medicated or to live your life. Like when I moved to Florida and got in the medical program, I just by happenstance ran into a young Marine at a veterans meeting. And I was wearing a cannabis shirt, and the guy that was running the meeting was like, hey, yeah, you promised 4 veterans that you were going to get them their medical card. And I'm like, well, this was the first time I've ever been to this meeting, but I'll help whoever needs help, And I listened to this young lady's story, and she was having her 25 years old, having her 7th knee operation. Jeez. From her being hurt in the military. And she has a daughter, and she just kept telling me, Senior Chief, I can't go back on opioids. I can't go back on opioids. So I got her her cannabis card. And then she said, oh, that's great. I got a doctor to see her for free. she said, in a couple weeks, I'll have enough money. I'll be able to pay the state. And I thought, man, I am retired, 100% disabled. I'm making the same amount of money now as I did when I retired as a senior chief. So I thought, well, I'll just pay for it. You know what I mean? I got plenty of money. And then I met a couple other people and found that they needed that same kind of help and understanding about how to use cannabis. So my wife and I started the Grateful Veteran.
Love it.
Yeah, because
I know, it makes me smile ear to ear. I knew that's where we were headed. And I just, there's so many questions. I want you to continue, but I sit here as somebody out that's never been in the military, a civilian,
yeah,
an ally. And it just is amazing to me that the initial struggle, that is an entry level issue that shouldn't be there.
right.
It just shouldn't be there. And it drives me. I mean, we've made progress, don't get me wrong, but it just drives me crazy that there's something out there that can be helpful, that will help you all with physical and mental health issues and pain. And yet we make the barrier to entry so difficult for people.
No, I totally agree. And
The Grateful Veteran, I love it, by the way. So I love the name. So tell us about that.
So, we just kind of felt like I needed to help some people. And my wife and I, actually, it was my daughter who came up with the name because I was having these outbursts out in town. So I like to wear tie-dye, dancing bears. It's hard for me to get mad and throw a fit when I realize I'm wearing a tie-dye shirt with a dancing bear on it. Like, who's going to take me serious? So it was like a counter trigger for me. Like, right when I was about to explode, I'd go, "You're wearing a Grateful Dead shirt, dude." So I listened to their music and stuff. So after I started helping people, my daughter said, "You got to call it the Grateful Veteran." So that's where the name came from. And what we do is we help veterans that reach out or that need, and not just veterans. I've qualified infants, children, and their families because they need cannabis for cancer or whatever. I'm a community kind of guy. I like to build a strong community. And so what I do is help mainly veterans get their first cannabis doctor visit free through me communicating with the doctor the necessity of him giving a single visit to a single veteran. And that's how I start. And then I raise money around the state to pay the $77.75 so that a veteran can try cannabis to see if it works for them for free. So they don't have to come out of their pocket $400 to see if they can use cannabis, because a lot of them are scared of it. And the other thing that I do is chat them up about, what are your issues, and how I would recommend that they might, use the different modalities of cannabis that are available to get the best results from them. Because a bad cannabis experience for an older vet, and I help a lot of older vets, I've helped World War II vets, 94-year-old World War II vet. A bad first cannabis experience for an older group of people leads to no more cannabis experiences at all. So you have to be very careful and educate them about how to use their medicine so they get the best experience and can build from there to make themselves feel like me.
Which is where they want it, which is where you want them to be. I had no idea. This is why this show is so important to me, but really to the community. I had no idea about the entry barrier, but I also had no idea that there was an organization out there. So the more that we can get the word out, the more that we can share on the show and all the platforms and all of the groups, the better. And one of the things I've done for the show on behalf of what we're trying to do is I have joined just about every group on social media that is veteran centric, that will allow a non-veteran, a non-military person to come in. Because I think it's just so important for us to continue to share your message.
Sure.
There are people, I guarantee, me being one of them, I would love to contribute to your organization. I would love to be a continuing sponsor and continuing to give, because I know I have my card, and I have a PTS for a different reason.
Sure.
But I know the power of it. And if it is an opportunity for them to get their life back, some semblance of their life back, and get off opioids, what a blessing you
Right.
are giving to all men and women who may not know, may be afraid. You remember, we were all told that marijuana was evil. Evil. It's got an evil. The government did a great job of vilifying marijuana for so long. And yet I know so many people who have changed their lives for the better because they found it and discovered it and were able to.
And that's how Jose and I met, is through our advocacy. And, I'm proud I have a shirt that has a gigantic leaf on it, and it says on the back, "Cannabis saves lives." And I love wearing that because it prompts me to tell them, oh, yeah, well, I did 20 years in the Navy, and they were sending me this much medication in the mail. I mean, I know the difference between an asset and a liability. At that point, I was collecting a lot of money, still am. So I became a liability because I was retired, no longer an asset. So that thought pattern of mine was they're medicating me to die because I'm saving them money if I'm gone. And it was just coming right every 30 days. I'd get 270 Oxy 10s.
Oh,
right? That's crazy, man. It's crazy to think about that. Like they were mailing it right now.
All my crazy friends who are going to reach out to me later, no, he doesn't have them anymore and he's not selling them. This crowd will literally reach out to me. I love y'all, but that's not what this show is about. But I think it's so amazing just from the outside in that you're literally changed your life, and now you are giving back and helping give lives back to the men and women.
That helps us heal, though. I think that helps us heal. I'm a non-combat wounded veteran. I didn't get hurt or anything. I mean, I got hurt doing stuff for the military, but not like in a combat zone. So you don't have to have and let's talk about that for a second, because a lot of veterans are kind of hung up on the fact that if you're a non-combat veteran, you don't deserve the same or whatever as another veteran. That's not true, man. It takes all the cogs to make the wheel go. I don't care what you did, whether you were a mail clerk or whatever. It does not matter what you did in the military. And you can still suffer from PTSD because of it. Yes. Like for me, my issue was I was at the pointy end of the spear doing all the things that everyone else in the command thought we should do, but I was the only one raising my hand to do it. And then when I got hurt, they threw me in the corner and handed me the keys and said, lock up. So I went from superhero to janitor, and I was having surgery and all my life, I was like, you can't get advanced in the military. You can't get advanced if you're sitting in sick bay. So I played hurt all these years. And now when I couldn't play anymore, they threw me away. And that crushed me.
How does that not F with your mental health? I mean, that's a whole other, it's not just the physical addiction to opioids. Then you're dealing with the feelings of worthlessness and what am I doing? And all the things that go through your mind.
Everybody tells you, they're like, everybody would tell me, oh, you're a senior chief. You're in the top 3% in the military. I'm like, well, that doesn't mean anything to me if you were just making me lock the door, take the trash out. What does that mean?
You lose purpose.
Yeah, no purpose. I had no purpose. And I felt that way for a long time, even after I retired in 2006, even after while I was on, past opioids and things like that. Sometimes that stuff creeps back in your head. Like I was a virile young man. I was 36, I think, when I had my first surgery, and it was all over after that. They botched it. They botched my first surgery, or I would have been able to go back operational. The second surgery, the tendon was diseased. The third surgery, they had to use a cadaver tendon. So now I'm 3 surgeries in, never to be operational again. And I got all this other shit that I need to get fixed too. So they just kept doing surgery after surgery after surgery to make me whole by the time I got out. But what they did was made me an addict. And when I would talk to my doctor about, hey, I'm addicted to these opioids, they're like, oh, well, I think you may just be overprescribed. I'm like, well, how am I overprescribed when every time I come in here, you ask me if I'm still in pain?
Yes.
And I tell you, I am. I am in pain because opioids don't work after a while. They just, you need more,
You need
or
more. That's the
yeah,
whole addiction.
and
That's the
and your body
addiction.
doesn't work.
Nope.
Really. Like my system didn't work, which made me grumpy. Just it
Well, how
was
could you
horrible.
not? You're living it from everyone I've spoken, there's like a whole, you feel like a zombie. You're just kind
No,
of going through the
and
motions. All right, so we are out of time.
oh man,
I know it goes fast. You must come back on and share more. I want people to get involved with the Grateful Veteran. What's the best way they can find you, Jeff? What's the best way
I'm
they
on
can reach out?
I'm on Facebook, The Grateful Veteran. I'm on Instagram, The Grateful Veteran OG. You can email me at thegratefulveteran@gmail. You can find me on my website, thegratefulveteran.com. I look like this everywhere I go. So if you see me, say hello.
I love
I,
it.
I truly love opportunities like this because without people that speak out, I mean, Jose, I love you, dude. He expressed so much to me about how to, and has opened the doors for other veteran organizations to excel and to communicate and to meet, and we got a team. We got people together that all over this country, and I didn't realize that now, and that's kind of where I like us to be headed that way, because like I said, there are young soldiers and sailors getting out of the military right now in my position and have no idea that they can use cannabis or something else to help them through that. But now there are networks of people all over. So the net is getting, the holes are getting smaller so people won't fall through. Yeah.
All right, Jose, I think we did a great job on the first show. Thank you for bringing Jeff on. Jeff, what an honor to have
Thank
you
you.
on the show. I would love to have you back, being our inaugural guest. Say that 3 times fast. I'm so moved. I'm always moved by
Ted,
the
I'm gonna send you a
stories.
T-shirt, one of my Cannabis Saves Lives T-shirts, so
I
you can wear it
love
around.
both.
And,
You know I'd
yep,
wear it.
for
I'm a big
sure.
proponent. I've been talking about it on my show before it was even, I got in some trouble, and that's all right. I don't mind.
Well, yeah.
Super
Good
important.
trouble. Good
Super. All
trouble.
right. Bless you both.
Love you
Thank
guys.
you
Thank
both.
you.
Thank you.
I love you both. I really have a heart for both of you. Y'all, let's get out and support our veterans. Let's support the people who have sacrificed, ultimate sacrifice. So many sacrifices they've made, their families as well. Let's help them. Get out and support our veterans. Heroes are always welcome here. We'll see you guys later. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.